ለመማር ወደ ትምህርት ተቋም መሄድ ግድ አይደለም። ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ
ራሳችሁን ከኮሮና ቫይረስ ወረርሽኝ እየጠበቃችሁ በቤታችሁ ወይም በተመቻችሁ ቦታ በኢንተርኔት አማካኝነት በኦንላይን ትምህርታችሁን መከታተል ትችላላችሁ።
ካናዳ ከሚገኘው ኢንተርናሽናል ኤር ትራንስፖርት አሶሲዬሽን አያታና ከእንግሊዙ ኢንስቲትዩት ኦፍ ኮመርሻል ማኔጅመንት ICM ጋር በመተባበር የሚሰጡ ትምህርቶችን ተከታትላችሁ በ6 ወር ጊዜ በዓለም አቀፍ ደረጃ ተቀባይነት ያለውን የስልጠና ማስረጃ ባለቤት መሆን ይቻላል።
ልምድ ባላቸው መምህራን እየተማራችሁ ጥያቄና መልስ፣ የክፍል ስራዎች፣ ፈተና መፈተን ክፍል ውስጥ እንዳላችሁት አይነት በኦንላይን ባላችሁበት ቦታ ከናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ
የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ
Let me also still some students are waiting. I have to admit them. Now I think it will be enough to wait some. In waiting them, we can proceed with our today's lecture. Well, as you told me in the beginning, questions that I forwarded to you, I appreciate that you all know on which chapter you are. So today we will begin with chapter 4. Chapter 4. So it was on the third or on the second material that I shared you in PDF. Again, welcome to one of the most fascinating courses in business and management studies, which is called International Business Strategies or Global Business Strategies. So I don't want to limit you to be just simple international, but you need to be global because that should be the maximum stage that a business can be. Yeah? Neither transnational nor multinational, but global. So chapter 6 is all about global production and supply chain management. Global production and supply chain management. I hope you know these terms. Global production is, the conversion of inputs to given level of outputs with a certain standardized nature of the products that are required by users, or we call them customers. However, these days, again, this word or this phrase is improved to be global operations, because the term or the discipline production management is now many universities, whether it is in Europe or America, are revisiting it to be global operations, not global production. But this is already, we are on the verge of modifying that. Global operations, global production. So production management versus operations management, I hope you know their differences and similarities. Normally, production management is mainly focused on the conversion of inputs to outputs in the context of manufacturing. I mean, mainly in the manufacturing industries or in the manufacturing case. Operations management is somehow broader in concept compared to production management, because operations also include the service dimension as well as the manufacturing dimension. So it's better to be more inclusive. More inclusive means operations management. So when we are really considering services, especially, we better say service production. That's really awkward. It's not really a common sense, it's a common term. So we better say service operations management. So operations management is somehow a bit broader. So I should tell you that things are really evolved from time to time. Next year, maybe we will say it like global operations management. I know National Aviation College is really very dynamic in terms of really listening with instructors. So definitely, but when we are really thinking that, consider it like global operations or global productions management and the supply chain management. You know, when we produce, you need inputs. Yes. After production, you supply the materials to the market, to the middlemen or to the sellers or to the buyers, and then you can maybe they may be ultimate consumer groups or even those which are considered as middlemen. Middlemen like can be like wholesaler, it can be agent, or it can be parent or partner company like that. So when you say supply of what? Mainly supply of the inputs that are really required to conduct the production system, or supply of the finalized commodities to the relevant users. These users could be either end users or users in between. Let's say the wholesaler is a user, of course, and then it will sell it to the retailer, or it may sell it even sometimes to the final. So that is really one of the most toughest concepts in the world: global production and supply chain management. That should be well managed. So because it has a number of cost-related components, and cost is highly related with the success stories of a number of companies. So the efficiency both in the production and supply chain contributes for the success of a company in the end. This is really what we want to see. But remember, you master students, you are really in a place to read and even sometimes understand. So mainly chapter 4 is like a kind of question and answer, because sometimes you better make it like a question and answer, because there is no fast and fast and a really hard issue on this regard. It's not difficult. I mean, therefore, I may be a bit faster on this one. So you can read it, you can get it from that leading text material, and then I may proceed to the next chapter. So anyway, global business, we defined it in chapter 1, or international business or global business means we said it two broad categories of business. That means internationalization of production and internationalization of marketing, or global business is all about globalization of production and globalization of marketing. So we are taking production here on the marketing component. We are really touching also supply side. So remember, this is one thing that you can see as an introduction. In today's global economy, first, companies must decide where the 5 WH questions mostly, where to locate productive activities, where to locate really in the industries, for example. Forget the international business and you can think of the domestic business. How appropriate is the location of industries? You can check, recheck, and even re-examine, for instance, Ethiopia's industrial park locations. How appropriate are really the park locations? How they can be, how location factors are really enabling to conduct international business. At least we should have some sort of competitive or comparative advantage in terms of location. So location is a very, very important thing. That's why we are worrying for logistics. So the other thing is firms must decide what the long-term strategic role of foreign production sites be. Foreign means international business. The company may be some country X, and it may have another production wing in company Y. The case of Boeing, for instance, assembling some of the parts, bringing to US, and before assembling, they may produce somewhere. So these are some of the decisions. We call them industrial location decision, by the way. This is really one of the most advanced issue in industry management or in production management. management. If you have time, please read about the theory of industrial location. There is really intense calculation and a number of algorithms, and then maximization, minimization issues. So if you have time, I really urge you to read about the theory of industrial location, or the theory of location competitiveness for industries. So whether to own a foreign production or really to outsource it, or how to manage a globally dispersed supply chain, what are the role of, like, for instance, information-based technology, marketing or management, or global production system, even logistics, really whether to manage global logistics or to outsource it, which one is like that. So these are the key important issues that companies are really in challenge to decide about international business. This is what we call direct or indirect. It means all about global production and supply chain management. So that's really in this decision. Anyway, let's start some kind of, I follow a different style for the first chapter, because it's really a simple chapter, but it's the most interesting chapter as well. Please read it from the text. No, even if I say it's simple, but still there are some tricky questions that you can get while we are reading it. The issue is decision. Yeah, production decision, supply chain management decision. This decision is normally consists of strategies, the terms of production, and the issues of logistics or matters related to logistics. So let's say one important question that really asked by a number of international companies is, how can production and logistics be conducted internationally? Yeah? How can? Because as much as they are really concerned with costs, this production and logistics can be conducted in consideration of what? In consideration of what? Lowering. In consideration of lowering costs, let's say. I am admitting students. How can production and logistics can be conducted globally or internationally to lower the costs of the value creation? Value is an advantage. For example, you may purchase a certain, let's say, H&M t-shirt that's developed, or a really highly branded t-shirt, let's say, and then you have some value, and let's say you can really pay $10 or $12. And then if you say, I am paying $12 for this t-shirt, it means the value of your $10 is a bit lower than the value that you are presuming to get from that t-shirt. This is value, means advantage, benefits. So always when we are thinking about logistics, it's all about value creation. So that's why we are saying value chain. Every transaction across the whole product supply, there need to be some kind of value. If there are some exchange from the producer to the seller to the wholesaler, if from the wholesaler to the retailer, I know they are really what? They are really exchanging the products. But when this exchange is accomplished, there need to be some additional value. For example, the producer may be in Germany, the wholesaler may be, let's say, in Dubai, and then the retailer may be in Djibouti or Addis, and the buyer may be in Jimma. So the buyer cannot go to Germany, or cannot go to Dubai to the wholesaler, or cannot go to the retailer to Djibouti or Addis. So he needs, or the buyer needs the product to be in Jimma. So that is value. Value of what? Value of not going to the production site. That's what they call it, the value creation or convenience addition in the product supply chain. So lowering the costs of value creation and add value by better serving the customer. This is a key issue, by the way. This is the fundamental issue in supply chain management, whether it's international relations course, whether it's international business course, or it's our production course, or even supply chain course. So anyway, this is a key issue that we need to answer. So the answer really needs to First, see production, and first look what's logistics. When you say production, production really involves the creation of a product. Once the product is created, still what we are saying, we can still add value. For example, the first addition is just in terms of packaging, or the first addition is in terms of providing informative packaging system, or the first or the second value could be transporting the product to the convenience location to the buyer. So production plus logistics, it will give us some kind of value creation to supply to the users or to the customers. Anyway, the strategic objective of the production and logistics function are lowering costs. So you need to say that. Lowering costs and increasing product quality. Quality means, you know, quality is really subjective, but really in production management, quality is simply fitness for purpose. Fitness for, so you can increase the level of fitness of the product, maybe on timely basis. So there are some important 5 or 6 dimensions of quality, but this can be increased by eliminating some defective products from both the supply chain, even during the manufacturing process. Therefore, even if these two objectives are really look separated or identical, they are highly intertwined or interrelated. In order to lower costs, sometimes we may compromise some of the issues where we are eliminating some defectives, or when you have some larger amount of defectives, then that will not be solved. If that will not be solved, then the cost will be even not low, rather than high. So these two objectives are really highly interrelated. So if I ask you, what are really the objectives of production and logistics function, definitely you'll ask them. Therefore, we better really focus on quality control functions that help the companies reduce costs. You know, the traditional assumption among a number of international business managers is that better quality control requires a lot of cost. Of course, in the beginning, it requires cost. Quality checking systems, the establishment of quality control systems, initially, they may require some sort of investment, but later they can really contribute to reduce costs significantly, okay? Because time will not be wasted during the manufacturing, especially in terms of getting poor quality products, because some of the materials or some of the raw materials or the inputs will be they will be controlled before. If not, the other challenge may come. So if there is what you call it the GIGO concept, the GIGO means the garbage in, the garbage out concept. So if garbage is in, then definitely garbage will also input quality. This quality control really begins from the input or the input supply side, or from the selection of suppliers. Plus, quality control also help to really minimize rework and scrap costs. Rework and repetitive tasks will be really reduced thanks for better quality control, and even some warranty costs, and there may be time used to fix defective products at lower cost. So this is the first thing that I want to elaborate. So the next important question in production, or I can say in global production and supply chain course is that, or chapter is that, what management tool is used to increase the reliability of product offerings? One important thing is the issue of reliability. It's not only cost, you know. So there are a number of options, you know, the issue of Kaizen issue, the Six Sigma quality issue. Read about this. I don't want to enter into this. You know, you are master students, definitely. I really believe on you, or I really count on you that you can really read on this one. So for example, the Six Sigma quality improvement program normally aims to reduce defects. It boosts productivity, even eliminate waste, and it also helps to cost throughout the company. This is one option, but there are a number of options that management can really increase reliability of products and production supply. Definitely, it is actually an evolved outcome of the TQM. TQM means it's somehow a relatively older concept compared to Six Sigma, the total quality management issue. So application of total quality management now, and then even application of the Six Sigma across the production and supply chain management systems can help companies to really ensure what? Really ensure reliability of product offerings. So you can see that there are a number of standards across countries or regions such as European Union, ISO 9000, 9008, 9000 like that. So there are important objectives. So related to this, related to product offerings, there are two important objectives that you can easily read and understand. So the first important question related to the 5WH question is a question of where. Where should production be located? The other things are really ceteris paribus. You can consider many things constant. Anyway, in order to decide the location, as I said it, please, if you have time, read about the theory of industrial location. Anyway, for this purpose, we can really answer like this. Before deciding where to locate production facilities or systems, consider country-related factors. So some colleagues really didn't mute, so okay. There are some important country-related factors should be considered. The country macro-level policies, available, incentives available for different producers or among different or within different countries. You can read that. The other thing is the technological related factors. Technology means how the factors of production are really combined. For example, you can have land and labor. The first in the backward system is just you can simply use your hand, but you can have a number of options to relate land with labor. In between the land and the labor, you can think of some important technological outputs or measures. That's what we call it technological factors and even product factors. For example, the product users, they may have different preferences or seasons that they are really doing the product. So these are the factors that need to be under country-related factors. We can mention hundreds of factors by technological factors like that production. When you say normally technological factors, especially from global perspective, technology means two things. One, the suitability of production to the expected level of technology. The other thing is the carrying capacity of that location to use that technology. For example, some technologies may require high amount of energy. So if the country do not have adequate supply of energy, then the carrying capacity for that technology is not low. So that's really, we can see from that. Country-related factors, what are they? For instance, like the political, the cultural, and even some relative cost factors, even some important regulations related to trade and foreign direct investment, and the issue of exchange rates, and then even technological factors like the level of fixed costs involved in that technology, and then the minimum expected level of efficiency in that location. So the flexibility of the technology especially is very, very important, how flexible the technology is there. Normally, in the international business, especially from production perspective, what you can see is two types of production. One is the standardized production system, and the second one is a customized production system. International businesses may apply the standardized production system because of what? Because they may have huge volume of buyers or customers without much purchasing power capacity or purchasing power parity, or without significant difference in terms of preference. During that time, they are really working for mass production. But this mass production, it requires high level of standardization. So standardized products require what? Mass production. On the other hand, is customers may have variety of interests, but still they may have better purchasing power. In this case, the company may proceed to not standardized production, but customized production. Please remember that one. But there is a third one. You can really work for mass production, but still working for customization. We call it mass customization, because from country to country, you can have some variation, but within that country, again, you can have some bigger amount of demand. So that's what I call it really a mass customization. So flexibility is a very important question. What are the technological factors? You can really read this. This is not such a huge issue. Product-related factors, we can really classify them into two. The product's value to weight ratio. The product's value to weight ratio means, oh, that's really a very, very important concept. If the weight to weight ratio is high, produce the product in a single location and export it. It means what? Weight to weight ratio means, weight to weight means what? If the weight of final product divided to its input, if it is greater than 1 or closer to 1, so that production system is what we call it input-oriented production. So input-oriented production requires what? Input-oriented production requires larger amount of input, so it's very bulky to transport the input. For example, cement industries, sugar industries, and then some mineral industries like gypsum industries or like that, even wood factories, they have somehow, they are really input intensive industries. So the location of the manufacturing company is closer to what? Closer to the input source. The other one is if the ratio of final products divided to the input is much lower than 1, it means like that. If, for example, from below like 0.8 or like that, that production is output-oriented production. Therefore, the company can manufacture the product in multiple locations. That's what I call it output factor location. The second important thing is whether the product serves universal needs. So if that product really tries to fulfill some universal needs, it means the need for local responsiveness is reduced for products that do, which increases the attractiveness of concentrated manufacturing. So sometimes we may work with this one. There are a number of examples, by the way, for this on the textbook. You can really read that. Locating production facilities. Anyways, there are some important strategies for locating production facilities. One is the concentrated location and then the decentralized location. You can really thesis from location strategy and production. For example, concentration production favored and then decentralized production favored. Some country-related factors are here, technology-related factors are here, product-related factors are here. So we can really have a match with these important variables. For example, difference in political economy and then concentrated production, really it favors substantial, but it's not that much in the case of decentralized production. Please see it that way. So there is also another important question that does the rationale for establishing a foreign production facility change? Sometimes the justification to establish a foreign production facility may change. Because of what? Because of various factors that you can relate. For instance, government regulations, or a factory may initially have an establishment to make a standard product service to a local market, and later it may evolve into another advanced design or capabilities, and it may transfer or it may really outsource it. So there are some important issues that we need to really think of, especially when some products are really produced by a number of companies, like assembling some parts or getting that assembly or that spare part from one company and adding its inputs to by the mother company and then selling to another organization or international countries. It may require one important decision, what we call it the make or buy decision. Maybe the company may make 60% of the products and then the remaining 40% of the product may be purchased. But this is dependent on informed decisions. That decision is what you call it the MB decision, or the make or buy decision, or we call it the MO decision. So I think you can really, that's really the advantages of making like that, and the advantages of the disadvantages of making, or the advantages of buying is the disadvantages of buying are there. There, one thing that we need to really focus is that there are important trade-offs. Sometimes there is a trade-off, means there is a need to balance between making and buying. So the decision that we can make or buy may have some sort of commensuration. So we need to really appreciate that some trade-offs. But these trade-off decisions should be made based on some objective functions and available or well-identified constraint or objective constraints. So the benefits of manufacturing components, especially in-house, are greater, especially in-house production, rather than really buying them, especially some highly important or decisive product components are advisable to be produced by the company per se. So it's greater, especially when highly specialized assets are already available in the company. If the company is better in terms of having better technology and facilities, it's better to make the product. When there is a vertical integration is necessary for protecting proprietary technology, vertical integration. Vertical integration, for instance, the company is really producing, let's say, 70% of the product, and it may supply to another company which may add 20%, so 90% is the remaining 10% of it. This is what called the vertical integration. But imagine 60% is already produced by the original company, but the remaining 40% are other two companies. Why not the original company controls the whole thing? So that's really what we call it vertical integration. It means better control of the whole production value chain is what we call it vertical integration. Normally, this vertical integration is classified in two parts. One is what we call it the forward integration, and the second one is the backward integration. Even when producing the product, because of low quality of inputs, the company may have the danger of GIGO. GIGO means garbage in its garbage. So the company's management or the business management may decide to control the input, controlling the input side, back integrate may really be the other thing is forward integration. Forward integration means the company may engage just simply on the production, but because of some marketing problems by sales agents or by distributors, the products may be, or the company may face some challenge, like some cheating. Assume the product is being sold with $10 from the company, but some distributors may say 20, or even excessive profit may be expected from them. So in this case, the company may interfere and will start to supply its products by itself. This is what we call it forward integration. Forward integration is more towards the control of the marketing system from production and up to the buyer, or whereas backward integration is controlling back to the input side. So this together, we call it vertical integration, especially in terms of protecting not only proprietary technology, but also protecting customer rights and then ensuring quality. Customer rights means protecting customers from high exploitation of fair price. In order to do all these things, sometimes companies may not engage, may not be perfect in terms of doing every product by themselves. So strategic alliance may be really an option. Companies may engage in strategic alliance with suppliers, for example, suppliers of raw materials, so that you can have sustainable supply plus well-defined pricing system. So you cannot change your costing strategy based on every change that the input supplier is doing. So this will help you to protect backfires. So that's a very important thing to ensure your global supply chain. So managing global supply chain, why logistics is important to the international firm? Because supply chain is all about logistics. I think it's really a rudimentary thing to ask you about why logistics is important. So the question of efficiency is really very, very important. Plus, we are talking about global. Global means the involvement of huge distance, a number of months and days travel across the sea. Some of you who have staff who are involving in Ethiopian ships, for example, they really spend huge amount of time on this. That's really one. Even the issue of exchange rate fluctuations, custom barriers, all this, they really need to be properly managed in the context of bringing efficiency to the company's product chain. So there is one important philosophy that you need to do, especially in terms of delay or to avoid cost-related challenges, that call it the JIT concept. JIT means just in time. Please read, this is also one technology. I mean, one not technology, it's one approach which tries to economize on inventory holding costs. Inventory holding costs or carrying costs, we call it, or product or material carrying costs. By the way, those of you who are from management background, you can remember a course which is called materials management. We should not have excessive inventory. We should not have also below standard level of inventories. When you say inventory, it includes three things. Accountants, I think you can remember. Inventory means one, raw material, second, finished good, and third, work in process, neither raw material nor finished goods. So we should not have bigger amount of inventory. We mean we should have what? Somehow economical, what you call it the EOQ concept. EOQ means economic order quantity. Economic order quantity of what? Quantity of raw materials. Economic order quantity means quantity of finished goods. Economy of order quantity means quantity of the work in process. Means work in process means those who are in between semi-processed items. Some companies will be in problem. They will have huge amount of inventory, and even the storage costs, the storage rental cost even sometimes is really high. When you talk about the holding cost or the storage cost, we can have direct costing and indirect costing. Direct costing means, what's that? Every inventory has cash on it, is that not? So our cash will be highly tied up, or the business's cash will be highly tied with the material. This is one cost. So the other direct cost is the cost of space, or let's say cost of packaging, or cost of what you call it, protecting them from damage or like that. So in like I said, what we do is JIT, or just in time, or when you see it from manufacturing perspective, we call it EOQ. EOQ means economic order quantity. That's a very important approach that companies, and it has its own really intensive calculation. I don't want to enter to that. That's really not part of also the curriculum of the course, but still you can read more on this one. The role of, what will be the role of the technology on global supply chain? I am sure if I ask you this, you can write even more than my notes, like electronic data interchange systems. We can see a lot, and really I cannot really spend mentioning all these things on this one. So please read this one. I think chapter 4 is all about this. And then you need to really like classroom performance system. Anyway, I don't want to just engage much on this one. Chapter 4 is a very important subject that can have a significant implication, both in terms of cost and in terms of meeting product demand at global scale. So this is all about
በትምህርት ከፍ ብሎ መብረር ይቻላል። ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ከከፍተኛ ትምህርት አግባብነትና ጥራት ኤጀንሲ ሙሉ ዕውቅናን ባገኘንባቸው በማስተርስ ዲግሪ MBA በስትራቴጂክ ማኔጅመንት፣ MBA በባንኪንግ እና ፋይናንስ፣ MBA በቢዝነስ ሊደርሺፕ፣ MBA በሪስክና ኢንሹራንስ፣ MSc በኢንተርናሽናል ትሬድ እና ኢኮኖሚክስ ዘርፎች በእውቀት ለመቅረጽ የበቁ ፕሮፌሰሮቻችን አረንጓዴ መብራታቸውን አብርተዋል። በነገራችን ላይ በኬንያ ሀገር ከሚገኙ ስመጥር ዩኒቨርሲቲዎች በሚመጡ ፕሮፌሰሮች የትኩረት መስክ ትምህርቶቹ መሰጠታቸው ልዩ ያደርገናል። በምርጥ የትምህርት ስርዓት የተገነባው ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ በመጀመሪያ ዲግሪ በአቪዬሽን ማኔጅመንት፣ በሆቴል ማኔጅመንት፣ በአካውንቲንግና ፋይናንስ፣ በማርኬቲንግ ማኔጅመንት አስተማማኝ ትምህርት ይገቢውና ራስዎንና ሀገሮን ይለውጡ። አድራሻ 22 አደባባይ ወደ ሾላ በሚወስደው መንገድ ላይ ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ህልሞን እውን ያደርጋል።
And the locations of our country, can we get just in time? Can we wait for a raw material to produce, or what the practices show, or which one is preferable for our country, just in time, or having a raw material in lots, or which one? For example, the inflation may affect our raw material or purchasing.
Yeah.
So I want your advice and what's the practice of our country to now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's really a very nice question, by the way. It's a fundamental question, especially for developing countries, especially for those countries where they don't have ports. Many say that it is also a philosophy. It's also a philosophy. It's also a managerial attitude to avoid exhaustion of space and it's a philosophy. It's a philosophy that's also an approach. What's that is that introduction and implementation of just in time do not have the time. It requires a number of preparations and readiness. The first one is deep readiness. ያስቸግረናል። ስለዚህ የጂ ኮንሰፕት የሚለው ምንድነው? የሚያስቸግረውን ፓርት ራሱ ለምሳሌ
ዶክተር ኔትወርክ ይመስለኛል ምንም አልሰማሁም። የኔ ብቻ ከሆነ አላቅም። ጥያቄ ከጠየቁ በኋላ ምንም አልሰማሁም።
ኦኬ፣ አይሰማም? ይሰማል?
ሁላችንም ጋር ነው።
አሁን ይሰማል። በፊት አይሰማም።
በጣም ተቆራርጦ ነበር።
ቬሪ ጉድ። እንደገና እንትላለው። በጣም ጥሩ ጥያቄ እንደሆነ ነው እኔ የተገነዘብኩት። በጣም ጥሩ ጥያቄ ነው። የሚጠየቅም ጥያቄ ነው። like applicability of just in time. So one thing that we have to really understand is that just in time will not be implemented just in 1 day or in 2 days, whatever. It is a process, by the way. The first thing that you have to understand is it is a process. When you say it's a process, it means it has steps. So the first step to introduce just in time is to bring attitudinal change. We can do it. So this is the first thing. So why we say we can do it? Just simple መፈክር ብቻ ሳይሆን on which areas can we really introduce JITs? There are some controllable and uncontrollable factors for just in time, by the way. So the advisors or the consultants on this area, what they really suggest is that please try to identify some of the controllable factors that you can implement or that you can apply in just in time on one hand, and list the non-controllable factors on the other hand. For example, if the non-controllable factor is time, you may say in how much time do you get the product or the input, I am not sure because we are far from Germany, you may say. So what will be the expectation? I'm asking you, let's say from 20 to 40 days before, just in time will advise you to use the maximum day and then to consider it for your calculation with other manageable factors. So we can really think of that. So the question is really important. So think of that just in time is not only the issue of calculating and introducing some managerial tasks, but it's also an attitude. It's also a philosophy that everything that we require should be available in just when we are really requiring it. First, try to really get convinced of this one. Then try to identify what are the challenges not to implement this, what are the enabling factors that to be, and then through process you will arrive at perfect just in time. By the way, when you talk about just in time, it's not like the name just. Remember, there are some errors, what you call it, production function errors. Even Carlo 90% ከተሰራ that we can call it like just in time. Please, if you're really interested, I can send you just in time techniques and methodologies. I will send to that. So in the context of Ethiopia and in the context of many countries, I know this is a challenge, but still, ዲሌያንስ ቢኖር ቻሌንጅን ቢኖር just in time advice የሚያደርገው ምንድነው? ዲሌያንስን ራሱን ካልኩሌት አድርገው ቻሌንጆችን ከመጀመሪያው ካልኩሌት አድርገህ ብትገባ እኮ ኪሳራ ውስጥም ላትገባ ትችላለህ። ስለዚህ just in time ኢንፎርምድ የሆነ ፕሮዳክሽን ኤንድ ሰፕላይ ቼን ማኔጅመንት ዲሲዥን እንድናደርግ ስለሚጠቅመን በጣም ኮንሲደር አድርጎ ወደ ፕራክቲስ ለመግባት መሞከር ጥሩ ነው። and then normally that's the question of management and considering factors. Even if, for example, you raised the issue of inflation. Even the issue of inflation, you have to forecast inflation, and there is what you call it uncertainty calculation, and all this calculation will be entered into that G equation, and based on that, you know. Is that any question?
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. I understand.
I can send you materials. The next question from who is LG Stylo 3? Please go ahead.
I hope you are referring to me.
What is your name, please?
My name is Ashanafi.
Okay, Mr. Ashanafi, carry on.
I would like to add on what Tarafa said.
Yes.
From my point of view, it's not practical to implement JIT in our context.
Yeah.
So it might be important to think that we may have different approach to different sectors, industries, manufacturing companies. But in the absence of an efficient supply chain management system,
yeah,
I don't think it works.
Yeah, that's what you call it. You know, when I say JIT, tackle or bottleneck area, you know, the first thing is what I am really pushing is that we can do it. Philosophies and just in time, of course, you can see how the transportation challenge, the port issue, all these things. Okay, just in time is a philosophy that I will not have excessive raw materials before production, and I will not have excessive products after production. Philosophy, it's nothing. Okay, so
what is the basic assumption behind? That's the question.
Yeah, you know,
in order to say not that we will not have excessive supplies in stock, we are assuming that we will get all the inputs that we need.
Yeah.
The specified time that we want it to have.
Exactly.
So the basic assumption behind it. Sorry.
No problem, please. Charles, go ahead.
I'm done.
Pro point no yanasao Ashanafi by the way. Okay, have you finished?
Yes, sir.
Economic order quantity allow masala once we know the average demand size, determining the average outflow amount. By the way, coming ahead al masalachu. የቧንቧን ውሃ ከአንዱ ጋር አምጥቶ ወደ ዲስትሪቢዩትድ የሚያቀርብ ለምሳሌ ኢንካሚንግ እና አውትጎይንግ ወይም ደግሞ ኢንካሚንጉን ከአውትጎይንግ ጋር ባላንስ ማድረግ ነው። ስለዚህ አውትጎይንጉን ካወቅን ነው ስለዚህ ላይ ልንሰራ የምንችለው። አውትጎይንግ ሚንስ ፋይናሊ ፕሮዲውስድ አድርገን ማርኬት ልንሸጠው የምንችለው ፕሮዳክት if we are really getting that amount, definitely we know how much to produce, and if we know how much to produce and when, definitely we can know how much input we require. If we know how much input we require, and if we know where the inputs are coming from, by adding some level of uncertainty, we can really determine the amount of time that requires to supply raw material. This is what we call it a backward production movement. Backward production movement means always begin with what you can say. This is a very important concept. This is what we call it the one that you can order the lot. And based on that, you can add some sort of safety. Let me say 5%. Some companies they may have 10% safety margin, means stock out of stock a number of complaints coming out of it. If they have some level of X amount of production, and then on that X amount of production, they may add a concept which is called the safety stock. Safety stock means like 5% of the already produced. And then in order to arrive that, as I said it, repeatedly saying it, how much things should be produced and when to produce. By the way, this is really possible. እንደውም ልንገራችሁ በእኔ assumption just in time ለመተግበር መታገል ያለብን እኛን ምክንያቱም we have a lot of other costs, other burden. just in time ከግምት ውስጥ አስገብተን የምናመርት ከሆነ የማናመርት ከሆነ የባሰ ብዙ ካላሰብናቸው ቻሌንጅ ሁሉ እንገባለን ማለት ነው። you know what I mean? በጣም uncontrollable ፋክተሮችን ከግምት አስገብተን የማናመርት ከሆነ ኢንተርናሽናል ቢዝነስ ላይ ፌል የምናደርግበት አንዱ ነገር ባይዞ ይሄ ነው። ምክንያቱም first we will not have adequate evidence that how much will be sold in the market. Second, by guessing ነው የምንገባው. There should not be any guessing in international business. Even if high risk ያለበት አማውንትም ቢሆን ያንን ሪስክ አውቀን ካልኩሌት አድርገን ካዋጣን ብቻ ነው ወደ ፕሮዳክሽን የምንሄደው. This is what we call it the just in time or the just in time production concept. Okay, but remember it's not like the name just is not just. It's the issue of what? The issue of objective or evidence based operations management. Nothing. Okay, just ስለተባለ it may not be fast, but ምን አለ ግን ኮምፕሮማይዝ የማያደርገው just in time ምንድነው? scraps በተቻለ መጠን scraps, wastage, stock out and overstock አይከሰትም በተቻለ መጠን ማለት። አሁን ኢትዮጵያ ጋርና አብዛኛው ዴቨሎፒንግ ካንትሪ ውስጥ ያለው ይሄ ሁሉ ሆርዲንግ ምናምን እኮ አብዛኞቹ ቢዝነሶች በዚህ አይነት ፊሎሶፊ ውስጥ ቢገቡ ያው of course we know that how many of the imports and exports are in Ethiopia is dominated by how many people. I can tell you just only less than 10 people that really dominated the import market. I know that and I can give you the product list. However, if that is open, if that is much competitive, and if everybody knows how much time it will take to input material or to import material from China or from, let's say, Turkey to Ethiopia or like that, and if you make it open and very competitive, definitely many comes to the competition. If many comes to the competition, definitely lowering of prices to the final consumer. That's why by the way አንድ ነገር እኔ ሁሌም ቻሌንጅ የማደርጋቸው ነገር አለ። things are unpredictable የሚሆኑት በታዳጊ ሀገሮች የኢምፖርት ኤክስፖርት ሴክተሩ በጣም በጥቂት ምንድነው ይባሉ ባለሀብት የሚባሉ አጭበርባሪዎች ስለሚያዝ ብቻ ነው። ይሄ እኔ ቢሊፍ ነው። I believe on this. Not only this, ይሄ ብቻ ሳይሆን እነዚህ ሌባ ባለሀብት ነን ብለው ኢምፖርት ኤክስፖርት የሚያደርጉትን ደግሞ ገቨርንመንትም ሰፖርት ያደርጋቸዋል because I don't know, maybe it may not have option like that. This is not only in Ethiopia, but it's very common. So unless and otherwise we are making the export and import sector very much transparent, the introduction of it is nonsense. It's impossible. That's what I want to say. Any other question? With that, Data, do you want to help me? Or do you want to again ask me another question?
Yes, Doctor, I have some questions. Uh, okay, my question is related to the production process and as well as to the supply chain process. For our case, for example,
Yeah.
In chapter 4, as a beginning, there are two types. The first is global production. It is the one. It has its own processes like global production process, the reworks, the scraps, as well as the production process management. And the second part is the global supply chain part. እና እዚህ ላይ ግልጽ ለማድረግ ምንድነው ለምሳሌ ባደጉት አገሮች ላይ ያለው የፕሮዳክሽን ፕሮሰስ ላይ ኤፊሽንት ናቸው ፕሮዳክታቸውን በአግባቡ ነው የሚያመርቱት ሪወርካቸው ሚኒመም ነው የሚተጠቀሟቸው ቴክኖሎጂዎች ሁሉም ነገር ስቴት ኦፍ ዛርትስ ናቸው at the same time እነዚህ ሀገሮች ለምሳሌ በእኛ ሀገር በታዳጊ ሀገሮች አፍሪካን መውሰድ እንችላለን እንደ አጠቃላይ ሪሶርስ ኢንዶመንታችን ሃይ ነው ነገር ግን የሰፕላይ ፕሮሰሳችን ሰፕላይ ቼን ላይ አድ የምናደርግላቸው ቫልዩ ያስመረራቸዋል ለምሳሌ ከመጡ በኋላ ኢምፖርት ካደረጉ በኋላ ሮ ማቴሪያልስ ፎር ፕሮዳክሽን ፎር ኢንዳይሬክት ኢንቨስትመንት ላይ የተሰማሩ ባለሀብቶች ጉምሩክ ላይ ለረጅም ጊዜ ይቆያል አክቹሊ የራሱ የሆነ ፕሮሰስ አለው እዚያ የሚፈጥንበት ነገር ግን ከሌሎቹ ሀገር አንፃር ሲታይ እጅግ በጣም ዝቅተኛ ሌቭል ላይ ነው ያለ ነው
Exactly.
አሁን በእኛ ሀገር ኮንቴክስት በጣም ብዙ ማዕድኖች ቢኖሩን በጣም የተለያየ ሮ ማቴሪያል የምናውቃቸው አሉን እነዚያ እንትን ፑሽንግ ፋክተር ቢሆኑ ወይም ወደ ገበያው ለመግባት ቢፈልጉና ቢያጠኑ ይህ የግሎባል እንትናችን የሰፕላይ ቼን ፕሮሰስ ወይም ክሬት የምናደርገው ቫልዩ በጣም እንትን ነው እንዴት ነው ኢምፕሩቭ የምናደርገው በእኛ ኮንቴክስት ደግሞ ያሉ ሌሎች ሀገሮች አሉ የጥሩ ምሳሌ የሚሆኑን ባጭር የግድ ነው አሁን ዘ ወርልድ ቢካምስ ቱ ዳይናሚክ በጣም ዳይናሚክ ሆኗል ብዙ ነገሮች በቴክኖሎጂ ተደግፈው ነው እንትን ይያሉ ያሉት ከኮሙኒኬሽን ፕሮሰሳቸው ጀምሮ በጣም የዘመነ ነውና ለኛ ጥሩ ምሳሌ የሚሆኑን ባጭር ጊዜ ወደ ወርልድ ማርኬት ለመግባት እንደምናውቀው እኛ ኢምፖርት ላይ ነው ሃይሊ እንትን ምንለው ኤክስፖርት አናደርግም አንዱ ፋክተር እዚህ ምናልባት እዚህ ግሎባል አምናመርታቸው ምርቶች ግሎባሊ ኮምፒት የሚያደርጉ ላይ ሆኑ ይችላሉ ከዚህ ጋርም የሎጂስቲክስ አስፔክት ወይም ኢንተርናሽናል ግሎባል እንትን ሰፕላይ ቼን ማኔጅመንታችንን ፑር ነው ከዚህ ካለንበት ደረጃ ቢያንስ ካለም ተቀራራቢ የሆነ ደረጃ ለመሄድ ምን ብንዳደርግ ነው በተሻለ ፍጥነት ወደ ዓለም አቀፋዊ ገበያ ወይም ኢንተርናሽናል ቢዝነሱ ላይ የምንገባው በሌላ ጥያቄ ምን አይነት የቢዝነስ ስትራቴጂ ብንጠቀም ነው አጨርሻለሁ ዶክተር ታረዘመ መሰለኝ
It is no problem. It's a very good question. It's a big question. This is really one of the issues that we'll deal with, I hope, chapter 6. Definitely. Based on data, based on evidence, like ease of doing business reports. Ranking in terms of custom clearance, whatever. And the whole value chain, like, coach finally contribute to and then what is the best practice and whose country's best practice? Band which my answer is to really significantly improve the BOP. What is the BOP? The BOP malat improving the business operating environment is the solution. There is no one answer for this get out. I'm sorry. Improving the business operating environment. The business operating environment what like competitive especially our enterprises business operating environment we have the structural what you call it the legal environment I will tell you we have the institutional environment we have the infrastructural environment we have the custom and whatever class environment so the answer for you is improving the business operating environment in general can really help us boost the import and then what you call it the global supply chain process improving. So what is this? That's a big topic by the way. How to improve a country's business operating environment, the pestle analysis ማአት ነገር አለ እሱ ቻፕተር 6 ላይ በደንብ እናየዋለን። ይሄ ብቻ ሳይሆን እንደዚህ በማረጋችን በአመት I hope last year አሁን እንኳን ብዙ ዳታ የለኝም እስከ ተወሰነ like እስከ 12-13 billion dollar deficit what you call it our balance of payment problem negative የሆነበት ሁሉ አንዱ አጋጣሚ balance of payment ማለት you know the export minus the import negative means what negative means our export is very much compared to what we are really importing. Why not we are really exporting very much what ተረፈ and even what you are really in as well as my Shanafi I hope ካነሳችሁት ጋር ይሄዳል. All these things are really dealing with improving the business operating environment. So there is no one model, but a very good example on this one, we can mention a number of successful countries. Business operating environment to the most below, what you call it, infrastructure, the right person in the right position. This is the key message, please. Don't forget it. If you are really dealing with real business, or if you are really dealing with real concepts of improving the business operating environment, the most important intervention area is human resource. Capable human resource, capable trade facilitators, capable international business negotiators, ያስፈልገናል እንጂ ዝም ብለህ ካድሬውን እየሰበሰብክ የፈለገው ቦታ እየሰገሰግ international business ላይ capable ሆናለሁ የምትል ከሆነ that is really nonsense by that is the major problem of Ethiopian import export problem. እኔ ይሄ በድፍረት ነው የምለው I have lot of evidence in one. You can check the profile of those who are really operating on this one. Even those who are considered as importers and exporters, they do nothing, by the way. They simply enter into that one, except few, I mean. There are still model business operators. So one of the key issue in improving the business operating environment is assigning the right person in the right position and providing the right national assignment to the right institutional responsibility. A very good example in this case is Denmark. I know in Denmark there are በጣም top scorer ተማሪዎች የሚገቡት በትሬድ ፋሲሊቴሽን ውስጥ ነው ባይ those who are high scorers high IQ ያላቸው ተማሪዎች እና በጣም በቃ they really there whether governmentum partyውን ምን ይኑረው ይዛች ሀገር whatever they don't care they are there simply to boost Denmark's national visibility in the international market. So the second one is ምን ያልኩ ነው ማለት ነው trade facilitations አሉ think tank groups አሉ if you go to for example Turkey more than 46 import export think tank groups አሉ Turkey ውስጥ can check it around 46 import export facilitate የሚያደርጉ how many really in our country የትኛው think tank group ነው የኢትዮጵያን ቢዝነስ ኢምፖርት ኤክስፖርት ላይ መንግስትን ሲያግዝ የሚታየው ሁሉም ፖለቲካ ሳይኒክ ነው የሚብለው can you tell me any institution or any advisory group that really works to support importers and exporters simply ዳታን ይዞ አገላብጦ ወይ ፐብሊሽ አድርጎ ምናምን so ብዙ እዚህ ላይ የሚሰሩ ስራዎች አሉ ስለዚህ እና ከዚህ አካባቢ ላይ በጣም ብዙ ሊሻሻሉ የሚገባቸው ነገሮች አሉ Turkey and Denmark are very good example for me, especially in assigning the right person in the right position. They will tell us, by the way, just give the trading for traders, for merchants, and just designing the JIT and other production or global supply chain design system for the designers. Do we have that designers? Really the important positions or are they really occupied by these experts? No, I doubt this. So this is what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is fee. That fee is what? To improve that business operating environment is the solution. Improving the overall business operating environment, but I will emphasize much on human resource and support think tank groups. That's what I'm saying. I think if anybody who wants to add on my lecture, please, this is a master class. You can participate. I can unmute all of you. ተጨማሪ ማብራሪያ ያላችሁ ኤክስፒሪየንስ anyone who is an exporter ከናንተ ውስጥ
My is Ketana.
Okay.
My question is not a question. Last 10 minutes I have a power outage. I don't know what you talk about last 10 minutes. So if you have a summary like that, I will be pleased if you talk about that.
On which were you disrupted, on which concept? Last 10 minutes is actually the question that was asked by Mr. Getau. He asked me, how can we really improve our global supply chain system? And then what example can you give us, or what business model is really helpful to make our countries to boost or to improve Ethiopia's global supply chain system? And my answer was really simple. That simple answer is improving the overall business operating environment is a solution to really enhance Ethiopia's or any country's global supply chain system. I mean, the whole global chain. And then I really emphasized much on human resource. And then you can have hundreds of technological supplies and inputs, by the way, without human resource. When I take human resource, one, assignment of the right person on the right responsibility. Second, even maintaining minimization of what? Minimization of what you call it, departure, the number of staff instability. በጣም አሪፍ ትሬድ ፋሲሊቴሽን ላይ ሲሰሩ የነበሩ በጣም ጎበዝ የሆኑ ሰዎች 3 ዓመት 4 ዓመት አይሰሩ። they leave it. So there is high human resource instability. I think Getau is a good example on this one. So what I'm saying is working much on the application of principles that will help us improve business operating environment. By the way, business operating environment, improving a business operating environment ራሱን የቻለ ትልቅ ኮንሰፕት ነው። እሱን ቻፕተር 6 ላይ በደንብ እናየዋለን። እና እንደ ኤግዛምፕል ብዬ የምወስዳቸው ሀገሮች ማን ናቸው? ላይክ ተርኪ ኤንድ ዴንማርክ ናቸው። እያንዳንዱ ሀገር በትሬድ ፋሲሊቴሽን ዙሪያ እጅግ ሰፊ የሆነ የቲንክ ታንክ ግሩፕ አላቸው። በጣም ለምሳሌ if they want to work on textile behind the screen ሆኖ የሚሰሩ በጣም በርካታ ኤክስፖርተሩን ቫልዩ ቼኑን አይደንቲፋይ ማድረግ ዲዛይን በማድረግ ፕሮቶታይፕ ዴቨሎፕ አድርጎ ቴስት በማድረግ እንጂ ቫልዩ ቼን ተጠቀም ብለህ ትሬደሩን ብትነግረው he doesn't know የሱም ስራ ሊሆን አይገባም ባይዘው። ስለዚህ እዚህ ላይ የኖሌጅ ቤዝድ ኢንተርናሽናል ትሬድ ፋሲሊቴሽን ስራ በጣም ያስፈልጋል ማለት ነው። ይሄን ነበር ያልኩት ጌታው ከሰማኝ አሁንም ካልወጣ
Thank you, doctor. Thank you for your time. And sorry for other guys. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you very much again for your question. Any other question or doubt, please let me know. I can really explain here. If you have any question, not only now, but also anytime while you are reading, if you get some concepts that are not clear for you, please ask me. I am also really appreciating some of the students. They ask me by email, and definitely I will tell them if you have any. So what you call it, the online teaching learning process is not only just screen based. Whenever you feel that something is not clear for you, I am always ready to assist you online, and then you can ask me. So let's proceed to the 5th chapter. I hope we have 30 minutes and we have to use the time efficiently. So the 5th chapter is all about importing, exporting, and even counter trade. Why do we do this? Because one of the simplest, probably the initial model of business to go for international is what you call is either importing or exporting. And then you can have even the concept of counter trade. You can read it this. Why exports? Normally, we can begin with this. I think this is a very simple question. Export I export really from inception point of view ወደ 11 የሚሆኑ trade theories chapter 1 ላይ አይተናል. I hope you read them. So I don't want to spend much on that. the theory of trade, like the issue of comparative advantage and the concept of absolute advantage. እዚህ ላይ በደንብ መለስ ብላችሁ እንድታዩ አድቫይዝ አደርጋችኋለሁ። In any case, exporting is a way, it says, it's a way to what? It's a way to increase, it's a way to increase market size and profits. I mean, why countries go for export? Definitely, it's a question of business. It is a question of interest, you know. They have some sort of interest or business on that. That's mainly related to improving market size or generally enhancing sales volume. Especially with the emergence of some important trade barriers under the pressure of WTO, the emergence of low trade barriers, unlike what has been seen in the previous 50 or 60 years, and then the arrival of some regional economic blocs and agreements such as the European Union, such as the North Atlantic Free Trade Association, we call it the NAFTA, like in Ethiopia, ECOWAS, I don't know in Africa, how many of the African leaders really use their regional blocs, I'm not sure. But I know that in the case of European Union, NAFTA, and many other ASEAN, like the Southeast Asian Trade Network, እነዚህ ሁሉ መከሰታቸው it really boosts the opportunity to companies to go international. Especially those bigger firms usually proactively seek new export opportunities, but many small firms export reactively. Normally, when you see larger firms, they spend much on the exploration of advantage. They spend somehow significant amount of their budget for international export or international market assessment, whereas smaller firms, just from their capacity, they simply respond when some advantage really comes. So this is a reality. However, this larger or smaller businesses, they are highly intimidated by the complexities of exporting. Exporting is not a simple task, by the way. There are a number of complexities that either large or smaller firms are really investing. So I think you can see from that advantage. So being large and small has its own say or its own level of intensity to go even internationally. So why exports? One, to identify, as I said it, market opportunities. Second, how to erase this challenge. Second, even to do list the limitations, you know, to meet or to resolve the limitation of the challenges that are associated with foreign exchange risk. So that by exporting, they can really generate better foreign exchange or hard currency, even to search or to navigate import and export financing. A number of international governments, a number of governments across the world, they really support this international trade. They also support importers as well as exporters. In order to reap that benefit or exploit that support, they may really go for international. Plus, even the domestic business may be saturated. Saturation of domestic businesses compared to the level of production companies are aspiring to do so, they may go for international. So saturation or some available challenges in the domestic business. That. The other thing is even it may create some more advantage like further market identification, transactions and complex financing processes. From these companies can really learn a lot, and even currency conversion sometimes may be a challenge, so which may push even governments to be more conservative for their national reserve. So in this case, companies may choose to sell abroad and really generate the hard currency to fulfill the. So there is a concept which is called counter trade. Counter trade is one issue that we can really discuss in this chapter. Counter trade is like a barter-like agreement which facilitates the trade of goods and services for other goods and services where they cannot be traded for money. There are a lot of cases that we cannot exchange for money. But as developing countries, የተሰጠን ዋጋ መቀበል ልምዳችን ስለሆነ ነው እንጂ because we are what? We are not price makers, rather we are price recipients. ያሉን ነው የምንቀበላቸው. Sometimes some governments may be conservative. Okay, we don't have that much hard currency. Why don't we exchange products? This is what we call it really a counter trade. We need to think some sort of counter trade so that our balance of trade deficit can be really minimized. By the way, I really encourage you to think how much counter trade be a solution for Ethiopia. Can counter trade be a solution for Ethiopia, for instance? Assume we can export huge amount of oil crops to China. And then from China, we are importing, let's say, a number of nations. So in between, we are really exchanging through dollar, let's say. Why not, for example, we may bring some nations from China. Instead of that, we can really give some sort of sesame rather than dealing with hard currency. This really is helpful to improve the bargaining power of the importer country like Ethiopia to have a better advantage in international trade. So is there a policy of counter trade or like that? I am urging you, I am giving you a reading assignment on this. What are the possible areas of counter trade in Ethiopia? And then what are the possible areas? And then where is the stage of counter trade in the context of Ethiopia? Can I use that? So the concept is like this, rather than using hard currency as middle exchange. This is like a barter, like because of the imbalance of power in determining international market price. They are saying that, for example, the advancing countries, they say that market is free, let the market decide the price. In history, as much as I know, there is no time that market has decided price, by the way. It is power, it is national government status that can really decide for price. So I am really telling you, for example, if you go for Europe, they have what you call it the ABA policy. The ABA policy, I raised it even I think one day before, maybe in the beginning of the class. ABA means everything but arms. Policy means developing countries can bring everything except arms, like bomb or clash, whatever. Our market is free. However, most of the products that are being sold in European countries are highly subsidized starting from the production value chain. For example, Sunday, በአውሮፓ ገበያ ውስጥ በምታዩበት ጊዜ እስከ 35% የፈርቲላይዘር cost subsidy ያለው milk like that, honey production, everything is highly subsidized. The Ethiopian non-subsidized production system እንዴት አድርጎ ነው እዛ highly subsidized ከሆነው ጋር በፕራይስ ኮምፒት የሚያደርጉት? This is, you know what I mean? Even if they say free, the whole value chain is not free. That's why these days countries are really pushing the concept of counter trade. Normally, this concept is emerged in 1960s when Russia and the communist states of Eastern European are the non-convertible currencies. But like in Estonia, like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Serbia, like Montenegro, like Croatia, they were 1960s, but and the Madagascar currency ብዙም የሚያጣጥማቸውን ነገር ስላልነበረ ይቀያየሩ ነበር. For example, like geothermal energy or some fuel energy from Russia, some alcohols probably from Russia, and then some other edible items like agricultural products from Eastern Europe in the Zamir. So this can be considered as a solution that tries to stabilize. And then it's really grow popularly in the 1980s, especially among many developing nations that lack the foreign exchange reserves, because since they don't have foreign exchange reserve, they may not be able to fund their import. So rather, they really work for counter trade. Plus, it has also a notable and a remarkable increase, especially in 1997, following Asian financial crisis. So counter trade is a very good emerging, if it's an emerging important concept that those countries who are in national reserve deficit can implement it. So what are really the different forms of counter trade? We can have like bartering is one, counter purchase is one, offsetting is a third one, a buyback is the other one, and a switch trading is the other. Please read them, they're really self-explanatory, and it's not like magic, the concept. You can read them, and then if you have questions, you can ask me anytime. However, counter trade has some disadvantages as well as advantages. In the beginning, what are the advantages of counter trade? Counter trade is normally advisable because it gives companies a way to finance an export deal when others are not really available. It's really helpful to find. It's really helpful to get financed for its export deal. Second, it gives a firm somehow a better competitive advantage over a firm that is unwilling to enter into a counter trade agreement. Then counter trade arrangements may be required by governments of a country to which a firm is exporting goods or services, and definitely it is one of the mechanisms through which governments can extend their hand to support international trade. So that's one. However, counter trade has also limitations. One of the limitations of counter trade is it may involve the exchange of unusable or poor quality goods that the firm cannot dispose of profitability. So this is really one of the things. Therefore, if we know this is a limitation, probably product testing and sampling of importable items could be a solution. The second disadvantage is counter trade also requires firms or companies to establish an in-house trading department to handle counter deals. It means, if they may have some sort of counter deals, then definitely they can, they have to manage it. If they want to manage it, they are forced to open a separate department. Opening a separate department to handle it, definitely it has its own costs, okay? Managerial costs, and then conservation costs. Therefore, we have to really be very careful, and then we have to really examine the possibilities and pros and cons of counter trade to Ethiopia. As I told you before, is there any possible legal and institutional framework or backup related to counter trade? Please read and come. Counter trade በተመለከተ አገራችን ያላት በእርግጥ የንግድ ህጉ ላይ ስታዩ ንግድ ምናምን የሚል ነገር አለ. Please read it, and then this may be one of the questions that may ask you. So read it. Plus, it's also an opportunity to be considered for your master thesis, for instance, and then opening eyes on other issues, and then you can have a comparative assessment between a certain Ethiopia and a certain other country who are really conducting a counter trade. How much are already counter trade? What can we get and what can እስካሁንስ የምናካሄድባቸው counter trade ኤሪያዎች የት አካባቢ ነው ምናምን የሚሉ on which products check ማድረግ ትችላላችሁ ማለት ነው. I can mention one, but that's not really advisable to raise it here. So when you see generally trade, I mean export has its own initial suggested advantage. We call it promises and generally limitations. The greatest promise of exporting is that large revenue, generation of large revenue, and then arrival at a better profit opportunities from foreign markets. And I think you can litigate it. So expanding market size, and then even mass or production of, if we're really expanding market size, then we will be in a position to produce in mass. Producing in mass, again, it will help us also lowering investment costs. I mean, lowering unit costs, because unit cost is fixed cost plus variable cost divided by the total unit. So if we are really producing much, the fixed cost will be distributed to larger amount of units produced. So if a certain fixed thing is divided to larger number, definitely it will be lower. So lower unit cost will be achieved. However, farmers that do not export usually lose on significant opportunities for growth and cost reduction. Therefore, there is an important need for farmers to become more proactive and even seeking export opportunities before deciding to produce or run at local level. So what are the common pitfalls or limitations that we are really looking from being challenged or failed international businesses? The first pitfall is what you call it, poor market analysis. Without adequate market analysis, companies enter into international trade, I mean, for exporting. So please try to make adequate market analysis. Market is a really issue. Without market, there is no revenue, by the way. If there is no revenue, nothing. If you are a manager or business operator, so please really understand what market is. Market analysis is a very, very important step before really deciding to export. Market analysis really touches on stages and some parameters like products. When you talk about market, the first thing I think, the 4 P's or the 5 P's last time, as I said it. Product analysis, really, what type of product is really required by the country of our intended destination? Product features, product durability, product quality, product standardization. All these things should be very, very, very important. They should be considered. Last time in Dalquacho, our customer simply tangible item which is the service product bundle concept emerge. It's not only the tangible product, it's not only on the physical item, rather how that product is produced, because consumers these days are becoming aware, and the global consumerism movement is really coming. Consumers are becoming responsible on each bread that they are really taking. እያንዳንዷን የሚበላዋትን ዳቦ እያንዳንዷን የሚጠጣዋትን ሲፕ ኦፍ ኮፊ ዝም ብሎ እንደ በፊቱ እንደ ዛሬ እስካለው እንዳለው ትራዲሽናል ባየርስ ያገኘውን ብላ ያገኘውን ጠጣ አይነት ብቻ አይደለም። we need to be responsible የሚል ሜንታሊቲ ግሎባሊ ሃፕን እያደረገ ነው። ስለዚህ የምናመርተውን ፕሮዳክት ብቻ ሳይሆን ለምናመርተው ፕሮዳክት የፕሮዳክሽን ሰርቲፊኬት የሆል ቫልዩ ቼን ሰርቲፊኬት እየተጠየቀን ነው። if you go to Europe for example, if you go let's say Tesco market, some coffee may come from Costa Rica and another coffee from Addis or Ethiopia. As I tell you, the price may be even double, but they can pay for that because they are sure that how the whole value chain of that coffee is being produced. They want to be responsible, for example, for species conservation. They want to be responsible for environmental matters. They want to be responsible for the human rights component of supplying markets to products. Even some of the buyers, they know that, for example, how much is a daily labor payment for a laborer who really spent in a coffee garden. እስከዚህ ድረስ የሚጠይቁ ናቸው። ስለዚህ ማለት ነው when you talk about market, the first market component is product እንደሚባለው እስከዛሬ undergraduate ነው እንደስንማር የነበረው እንደው product features packaging ብቻ ሳይሆን the concept of product in the mind of global consumers is really evolving. Please don't go with the old mind that product means simply tangible one. People are really highly conscious of what's the product, how the product, not only what, but how that product arrived there. ይሄ product እንዴት እኛ ሀገር መጣ፣ እንዴት አልፎ ነው any corruption incidents አለ ወይ? በጣም ጥያቄዎች የሚበዙበት ሁኔታ ነው። በዚህ ይሄንን በተመለከተ ግሎባል ፕሮዳክት ሰርቲፊኬሽን ራሱ አንድ ትልቅ የማርኬቲንግ ኢንትሪ ፖይንት እየሆነ ነው። ካምፓኒዎች ፕሮዳክት መሸጥ ሰርቪስ መስጠት ብቻ ሳይሆን የሚመረቱ ፕሮዳክቶችን ለነዛ ፕሮዳክቶች የሰርቲፊኬሽን ስታንዳርድ ማውጣት ሰርቲፋይ ማድረግ ፕሮዳክቶች የተመረቱት በዚህ አግባብ ነው ብሎ ማውጣት it's really becoming a very important international business advisory. And most of these certifiers are, by the way, I don't know, probably maybe by chance, most of these are by the Italian companies. So if you go forest products that are coming from Latin America or West Africa, you cannot really easily bring it to Europe. You have to pass a number of checkpoints for any of the forest product that really, but still this one is also full of corruptions, by the way, I can tell you. የነ ኮት ዲቫር የቸኮሌት ኢንፑት ቤልጂየም የሄደው ቸኮሌት ሲመረት ከመመረቱ በፊት በጣም ብዙ ቼክ የሚደረጉ ኤቲካል ፕሮዳክት ስታንዳርድስ and input product system. So when you say market product, the second analysis is price analysis. How much is affordable? How much is the price? When you talk about price, indirectly we are talking about cost from here to Djibouti or whatever price. And the third P is what's promotion, what type of promotion or marketing communication style. And the fourth one is placing, which one is the best way of distribution, placing. So all these market analysis should be well done. If it's not well done, definitely that will be a pitfall and many of the exporters are really failing. I tell you, Nick, business, which is a major reason for the failure of exporting companies is because of poor market analysis and overestimation in their hope. The second reason is poor understanding of competitive conditions in the work in the foreign markets. They don't have adequate understanding. So adequate understanding of the competitive conditions. So how do you do that? Are you going to recruit or employ an independent researcher in that country? There are many options, I tell you. The one that I told you last time, the Global Age website. So there are a number of databases that you can understand how the competition looks like. It's not only the current competition, but also the trend, how that competition is really proceeding is important. The third reason behind the third pitfall of exporting is that failure to customize the product offering to the needs of foreign customers. With the same product mentality that we are really telling in the domestic market, we may really consider the international market that way. So customizing means you need to really adapt the product to different countries. You may have Coca-Cola, let's say in Ethiopia, and Coca-Cola in India. Most of the Indian Coca-Cola is not sugary, so you need to adapt it. So depending on the tastes and preferences of foreign customers. Lack of an effective distribution system, logistics system is one. Purely executed promotional campaigns, the type of marketing communication that you can have, and then problems of securing financing. For example, export finance is really one of the challenges that current day Ethiopian exporters are still facing. So exporting financing is one. So common pitfalls are, then how do we really, what are the common pitfalls? You can really, improving export performance is a key question. It's not only for Ethiopia, it is a global question. Please bear in mind that almost all countries are really debating on this and they are really exerting their effort to the maximum possible stage on improving export performance. How can we improve export performance is a global question. Improving export performance. Can you mention the steps managers can take to improve businesses or companies' export performance? So what's important in this case is really, one, before thinking for enhancing export, we have to bear in mind that there are some pitfalls and understanding the pitfalls and then not to commit them is a first stage. The second one is even enhancing information sources for exporters. Exporters, even to increase their knowledge of foreign market opportunities. Denmark, business teaching with experience, a minimum bans by Yulas Samantu, exporters, Yarasacho Foromalacho, by a sector, Banamla, Imagiyaraga, Lunagaros, Mudanacho, meat, but by yes, bans, Bowles Samantus, Layan exporter, refreshing trainer, training center. Kafallaga Matusdal, Kafallaga online news button Italian, even enhancing the knowledge of foreign. And for cases, for example, to teach even such international business courses, the first person to be invited is not the professor of international business. The first person to invited for such practical lectures is one of the best export performer. If you really appoint me this, if you know the best export performer in Ethiopia, definitely we can invite him to, if he is willing or she is willing, in our Zooming lecture, and definitely we can incorporate that. So what I'm saying is they are really much knowledgeable. They have a number of supports that can be done. This could be done through what? One, it can be state support. There are ministers of trade and industry. The support can come to this one, Minister of Trade and Industry. There are a number of, even in Ethiopia, but I'm through and it is support. I think probably it's because of the limitation of capacity or capacity limitation. Minister of Trade and Industry. Trade and industry like የሚቀመጡ ሰዎች ራሳቸው ምን ያህል ኖሌጅ ከኤስያቸው ራሱ ምንድነው የሚለው ነገር ማግኘት እየተሰበሰበ ትሬድ ኢንዱስትሪ ላይ ፋሲሊቴት አደርጋለሁ ሊሆን አይችልም እና ይሄ ሪቨርስ መሆን አለበት በጣም በኤሪያው ላይ ኢንተሊጀንት የሆኑ ሊሰሩ የሚችሉ ሰዎች መቀመጥ አለባቸው is unlike many African countries ማለት ነው the other thing is it could be done through export management companies there are a number of companies we call them EMCs in America Ethiopia was down export management company can you tell me any export management company that can really support exporters, assist exporters. I mean, there are some government, but these are what we call independent companies, even subsidized by countries, subsidized by governments, so that their task is really not to see any failed exporter. So that's really and of course, this one has its own pros and cons, having EMCs have its own pros and cons. Even exporting strategies and then adequate or nice exporting strategies. The state support Germany is a very good example, by the way, in terms of installing a nice export support and one of the world's most successful exporting nations, by the way, Germany. It has even a number of trade associations, government agencies and commercial banks. They gather information each other, they help each other. They share information and they have a common data pooling or data center, and finally even supporting small firms to identify even business opportunities. Japan, Japan Ministry of International Trade and Industry, then which is always on the look of export opportunity in these countries. There are independent agencies. Opportunities Japan and Germany are really very nice on this regard. Like in addition, many Japanese firms have affiliated in some way with the Sogo Shosham. The Sogo Shosham Ibalala. Sogo Shosham Malat, Japan's greater trading house night. The Sogo Shosha have offices all over the world. Kayandando embassy attach honu Sogo Shosha. Sogo Shosha Malat embassy, Japan embassy alabba. Even a Japan embassy which is ከጃፓን ዩኒቨርሲቲዎች ጋር ኮላቦሬት የሚያደርጉ ተቋማት በሙሉ ይሄንን የሚሰሩ ስታፎች አሏቸው so they really እዛ አካባቢ ምን ኤክስፖርት እንዳለ ወደ ሀገራቸው ሪፖርት ማድረግ ያለባቸው ይሄ this is a Japanese tradition we call it the Sogo Shosha tradition the other thing is utilizing export management companies በጣም ብዙ አሉ እዚህ ላይ ለምሳሌ a number of departments ሊቋቋሙ ይችላሉ two ways of export assignments ሊያደርገኙ ይችላሉ እነዚህ ኤምሲስ one they start export operation and they simply show the way and once እነዚህ ኤክስፖርት የሚያደርጉ ካምፓኒዎች ክንፍ ካወጡ በኋላ እንደው መዋኘት በራሳቸው መሄድ ከቻሉ በኋላ ይተውላቸዋል አትሊስት ያላመዷቸዋል ለራሳቸው ኤክስፖርት እያደረጉ even they can have also some startup services and then some responsibility for selling abroad even የመሸጥ ፕሮዳክቱን ተቀብሎ ሸጦ ሬቨኑን ለዶሜስቲክ ካምፓኒስ የማምጣት ማለት ነው ኤክስፖርት ስትራቴጂ ላይ በጣም ብዙ ኤግዛምፕልስ አሉ ላይክ ብዙ ኤግዛምፕል እና ብዙ ስትራቴጂ የሚኖር what's important is careful choice of the strategy is really very important there are a number of strategies or guidelines that help firms to improve their odds of success so that will be also be again documented ለምሳሌ the 3M ካምፓኒ የሚባለው the Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing Company በዚህ ላይ በጣም የታወቀ ስትራቴጂ ያለው like it really makes for more than 40,000 products including tapes nut papers medical products በጣም ብዙ ነገሮች የሚሰራ ካምፓኒ ነው and then more than 60% of 3M's revenue are generated outside of USA ስለዚህ more than 60% generate የሚያደርገው ከUSA ውጪ እንዴት አድርጎ ቢሰራ ነው የሚለው ማየት ይቻላል so the grand strategy for this company is like it uses its export to establish an initial presence ነው export የሚያደርገው simply for initial presence in a foreign market ነው and then only building a foreign production facilities ከዛ በኋላ ሬዝ አድርጎ ፕሮዳክቱን በራሱ ጊዜ የሚያስኬድበት አጋጣሚ ያለ ማለት ነው please if you go for page 404 on the case material on the textbook that I shared you page 404 exporting strategy at 3M የሚላል እሱን ለማንበብ ሞክሩ as I regularly and repeatedly say this course is highly case based course we don't want to remember handouts and I don't want to flood you with thousands of pages of handouts so rather we have to be very critical on things what we are saying and all things should be very supported so supported with real world case as the course is international our examples are fully international like 3M strategy ከሚጠቀሙባቸው ፕሪንሲፕሎች like the FIDO principle አለ FIDO principle ማለት ነው first in then defeat others ማለት ነው this is what call it the first in ማለት በምን የሚገባው just we can be like in terms of export assess ያደርጋል then this is what call it the FIDO principle that's why it sells more than 60% of its products outside of the domestic country it means what gain an advantage over other exporters by getting into market first and learn about that countries before others do the second principle of 3M company is make a little sell a little make a little sell a little means entering on a small scale with a very modest investment and pushing one basic product and then really working on that one for example Russia in Hungary market many Russian companies in the Hungarian markets are like this make a little sell a little once 3M believes anyway you can read it the third principle is hire local employees to sell the firm's products by any means 3M really provides much emphasis to hire what to hire international employees as I said it human resource play a definite role in the conduct of international business so 3M really emphasizes on the hiring and training of local staffs the other principle it can has I hope it can have you can read it export financing is one option how export financing really is helpful again discuss on the basic steps involved in export financing in Ethiopia for example you can assume that you are an Ethiopian exporter to your customer in Germany indeed export finance ሊደረግ የሚችል ነው there are a number of steps the first step is many steps to resolve lack of trust ብዙ ስቴፕ አለው ኤክስፖርትን ፋይናንስ ማለት ኤክስፖርት ያደረኩት ኤክስፖርት ፋይናንሲንግ ማለት ፕሊዝ በማክሮ ሌቨል ፋይናንሲንግ እንዳታውት ኤክስፖርት ፋይናንሲንግ in this term means or in this sense means you send a product and then you are getting the price to it ማለት ነው for this perspective but I'm lengthy step assume you are exporter to Ethiopia and you have a bank account in commercial bank of Ethiopia and your customer is in let's say in Munich or in Muistin or in Munich, or it can be whatever type of German town or city. And then definitely you don't know him physically, he asks you the product. So how do you really exchange the product? This is the next stage that we'll see on Saturday. Please read all the issues that I wanted to emphasize on the cases that I have discussed in the lecture. I think well done for today. So see you on Saturday on export and import financing. We are on slide 50. If you have any question, doubt, or suggestion, please, you are most welcome. Question, please.
መጀመሪያው ኮሜንት ነው ከዛ ጥያቄ
ኦኬ
ክላሱ በጣም ኢንትረስቲንግ ነበር ብዙ እውቀቶች አግኝቼበታለሁ አመሰግናለሁ ነው መጀመሪያ ጥያቄ አሳይመንቱ ላይ ነው
እሺ
ታንም ከተወሰኑ ልጆች ጋር ስንነጋገር ነበር
ኦኬ
የመጀመሪያው ኢንዲቪጁዋል አሳይመንቱ ላይ የተሰጡ ታይትሎች አሉ
እሺ
አርቲክል ነው ሪቪው የምናደርገው ወይስ በእነዛ ቶፒኮች ላይ አንብበን ቲዮሬቲካሊ ምንም የሆነ አንድ ዶክመንት ማዘጋጀት ነው የሚለው ክሪቲካል ሪቪው ስለሚል አርቲክል ሪቪው ብዬ ነው አንደርስታንድ ያደረኩትና
አርቲክል አልሰጠሁም ማን ልበል ሶሪ
አሸናፊ ቅድም
ኦኬ የሆነ በስም ስላልገባልኝ ነው
ችግር የለም
አሁን በሌላ ነው የገባ አሁን ይኸውልህ አሸናፊ እዛ ላይ እንደውም ወደዛ መሄድ ካስፈለገ የመጀመሪያው ጥያቄ እንደገና ሪቪው ላድርግላችሁ ወይ ሰው ሰይድም ጠይቆ የነበረ ተማሪዎችን ትብራሳ ዩአር አሳይመንት ያው 25% ነው ለምን እናንተን ያላችሁበት ሲቹዌሽን ይገባኛል በጣም ብዙ አላችሁ ግማሾቻችሁ ማለቆች ትሆናላችሁ ግማሾቻችሁ ብዙ ነገር አለና አይ አንደርስታንድ ዘ ሲቹዌሽን ባይ ዘ ወይ ይሄን ማለት ግን ምንም አይነት የኮርሱን ደግሞ ኳሊቲ ኮምፕሮማይዝ እናደርግ እንድንሄድ ነው ምናልባት ከበዛባችሁ ቢሆኑ እኔ እንኳን ኦፕሽን ነው የሰጠኋቸው አርቲክል ሰመሪ አይደለም አሳይመንቱ ምንድነው it says conduct a systematic critical review ነው የሚለው systematic ማለት you have to be systematic
critical review of what
on one of the following issues ይላል ከተሰጣችሁ ኢሹዎች ለምሳሌ ግሎባል ቢዝነስ ኤንድ ኮርፖሬት ሶሻል ሪስፖንሲቢሊቲ አንድ ኢሹ ነው እሱን የመረጠ ሰው ሊሆን ይችላል ወይም ደግሞ the role of government in international business ነው ወይም ደግሞ ኢንተርናሽናል ቢዝነስ ስትራቴጂ ሊሆን ይችላል ወይም ግሎባል ሰፕላይ ቼን ማኔጅመንት ከነዚሁ አንዱን ይመርጥና አንድ ተማሪ ከነዚህ አንዱን መርጦ ክሪቲካሊ ሪቪው ያደርጋል ሲስተማቲክ የተባለበት ምክንያት ምንድነው ሲስተም አዝዋት አን ኢንፑት ፕሮሰስ አውትፑት አለ ኢንፑታችሁ ምንድነው ኦብጀክቲቭ አለው ኢንትሮዳክሽን አለው ሪቪው ታረጉበት ኦብጀክቲቭ አለ መጠየቅ አለባችሁ አሁን ሲስተማቲክ ለመሆን ኢንትሮዳክሽን ላይ አንዱ ሲስተማቲክ የሚያስብለው ምንድነው question ሬዝ ታደርጋላችሁ ለምሳሌ ካነበባችሁ ግሎባል ቢዝነስ ኤንድ ሰፕላይ ኮርፖሬት ሶሻል ሪስፖንሲቢሊቲ ሆና ሲሳር ላይ የሚሰራ ከሆነ የመጀመሪያው ላይ በቃ ቢያንስ የተወሰነ 4-5 አርቲክል ትንሽ ነበብ ያደርግና ከዛ ላይክ እንደ ፕሮብሌም ስቴትመንት የተወሰነ ኢንትሮዳክሽን ላይ ይጽፋል ከዛ the objective of this systematic review is this one ከዛ ክሪቲካል ያስባለው ደግሞ ምንድነው እዛ ላይ የሚባለውን ብቻ እናንተ መቀበል የለባችሁ ነው ሪሊ question አድርጉት የምታነቡትን ነገር question ታደርጋላችሁ ያ ክሪቲካል ያስብለዋል ክሪቲካል የሚያስብለው ነገር ምንድነው ሪቪው የምታደርጉትን ነገር ላይክ በሁለት በሶስት አርቲክሎች እንዲሰፖርት ብታደርጉት መጨረሻ ላይ የራሳችሁ ሴይ ቢሆን ሪኮሜንዴሽን ላይክ በአጋጣሚ እንኳን ለምሳሌ እኔን እንኳን ባታገኙኝ እንኳን ባትጠይቁኝ ክሪቲካል ሪቪው ፕሮዝ ብታደርጉ ታገኛላችሁ ሲስተማቲክ ያስባለው ነገርኳችሁ ሲስተማቲክ ያስባለው የተለያዩ ቦዲዎች አሉ ማቴሪያላችሁ ኢንትሮዳክሽን ይኖረዋል ኦብጀክቲቭ ይኖረዋል ሜተድ ይኖረዋል ራፍሊ ማለት ነው maximum page limit is 12 page limit ከዛ you really grab 25% ውስጥ የሚደርስ ተወስዳላችሁ ማለት ነው እኔ አይደለም ማርክ ምሰጥ እናንተ ናችሁ አሁን ማርክ ይሰጠኝ ምናምን መባል የለበት አክቹአሊ ተማሪ የሚለው ምንድነው A+A ቻርጅ ሲያገኝ አገኘው ሰራው ነው የሚለው ኤሲ ምናምን ወይ ምናምን ሲያገኝ ሰጠኝ ነው የሚለውና እንደዛ እንዳትሆኑ እናንተ እንኳን አትሉም ጎበዞች እንደሆናችሁ ይገባኛል you are to response በቃ በዛ ላይ ስሩ ብዙ አትጨነቁ
ይቅርታ ዶክተር
እሺ
አሁን ያስረዱት ነገር ገብቶኛል። አንዷ ግን ሪቪዋ አሁን ዶክመንት ነው ሪቪው ሊደረግ ይችላል ወይ መጽሐፍ ነው ወይ የተጻፈ ነገር ነው ማለት ነው። ሪቪው ካለ something exists
እኔ
ያ something exists ሪሰርች ነው መሆን ያለበት ወይስ ቲዮሬቲካል ማቴሪያል ነው ወይስ some አርቲክል ነው የሚጥለው ጥያቄ ነው።
የፈለጋችሁት በተቻለ መጠን ግን ምን ይላል ታችን ላይ አይታችሁት ከሆነ በተቻለ መጠን ይሄ ዝም ብሎ የጋዜጣ የምናምን የፌስቡክ ምናምን ነገር ሳይሆን ኮንክሪት የሆነ ለምሳሌ ፐብሊሽድ የሆኑ አርቲክልስ የሆኑ ጥሩ ነው። በተማሪዎቼ ላይ ኮንፊደንስ ስላለኝ ነው። እኔ ዝም ብዬ አርቲክል ሰጥቼ አርቲክል ወስደህ መልስ አይነት ነገር እኔ አይመቸኝ። እኔ I believe my students can really they can choose by the first thing ደስ የሚላችሁ መምረጥ መቻል አለባችሁ። you are masters students እኔ ሰጥ ብቻ ሳይሆን you can really በዚህ ግሎባል ቢዝነስ ኤንድ ኮርፖሬት ሶሻል ሪስፖንሲቢሊቲ የሚል 4-5 አርቲክሎች ተወስዱና ከዛ ውስጥ እነኛ የሚያጠነጥኑበት ስለ አንድ ነገር ማወቅ ለምሳሌ ሮል ኦፍ ቢዝነስ ኢቲክስ በኮርፖሬት ሶሻል ሪስፖንሲቢሊቲ የሆነች አንድ ነገር ይዛችሁ በዛች ላይ ክሪቲካል ሪቪው ማድረግ ነው። ክሪቲሳይዝ እያደረጋችሁ
Thank you. It's clear for me.
I hope የግሩፑ ግልጽ ነው።
በእኔ በኩል ግልጽ ነው። ሌሎች ጥያቄ ካላቸው አላውቅም፣ ግን ሰዎች ሲጠይቁ አልሰማም ግሩፕ ላይ።
ሌላ ጥያቄ ያለው ካለ please you can raise your hand። ጥያቄ
እሺ አመሰግናለሁ። አሁን እኔ መጀመሪያ የተገባኝ ኮንሰፕቱ ላይ የትምህርቱ ከአራቱ ታይትሎች ላይ ኮንሰፕቱ ላይ ነው እንትን ጠይቀን ራሳችን ክሪቲካል ሪቪው እንደዛ ነበር የገባኝና ሶ አሁን አርቲክል ሪቪው መሆን ይችላል ብለህናል። እኔ ግን ኮንሰፕቱ ትምህርቱ ላይ ነው የመሰለኝ። ስለዚህ
አርቲክል ሪቪው ጌታው አሁንም ሚስ አንደርስታንድ አታርግ። ለምሳሌ የመጀመሪያው ኮርፖሬት ሶሻል ሪስፖንሲቢሊቲ ነው አይደለ? ለምሳሌ ኮርፖሬት ሶሻል ሪስፖንሲቢሊቲ ኢዝ ኤ ኮንሰፕት ነው። ኮንሰፕቱን ትይዙና አንድ አርቲክል ሳይሆን በዛ ኮንሰፕት ላይ አንድ አይነት አባባል የለም ባይዘ ኮርፖሬት ሶሻል ሪስፖንሲቢሊቲ ምንድነው ራሱ በሚለው ላይ ወይም ደግሞ ስታንዳርዶቹ ምንድነው በሚሉት ላይ አንድ አርቲክል ብታነቡ አንድ ነገር ነው ይዛችሁ የምትሄዱት። 2-3 ስታዩ ግን ከብዙ አንግል ክሪቲካሊ ሪቪው ታደርጉታላችሁ። ኦኬ
መጽሐፍ ላይ እናገኘዋለን። መጽሐፍ ላይ እናገኘው
መጽሐፍ ላይ ብቻ ባይዞ ክሪቲካል የሚለውን እንዳትረሳ። መጽሐፍ ላይ ሪቪው ካደረክ ላይክ ሃንድአውት ወይም ምናምን ነው ፕሮዲዩስ የምታደርግልኝ። እኔ ግን ኤክስፔክት የማደርገው ከተማሪዎቼ ምንድነው ክሪቲካል ሪቪው ነው። ኦፍ ኮርስ ከአንድ መጽሐፍ ትጀምርና ይሄ ነገር ግን በነከለ አባባል በሚሉት ነገር በዚህ መንገድ ይሰራል፣ በዚህ መንገድ አይሰራም
ከተለያየ መልኩ ሪቪው
በዛ ፐርስፔክቲቭ ነው።
እሺ አመሰግናለሁ። ይቅርታ። እሺ
ምንም ችግር የለም። ታንክ ዩ። ሌላ ብለርድ የሆነ ቪዥን ካለ any please anything if I want to assist. Thank you very much. Well done for today. Happy to see you again next Friday. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. See you tomorrow, sir.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
ልዩነት መፍጠር ዓላማችን ነው። ዓለም አቀፍ ተወዳዳሪ መሆን አለባችሁ። የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ ጥራትና ደረጃውን የጠበቀ ስልጠና በመስጠት ብቁ ዜጋ እያፈራን ነው። በፍላይት ኦፕሬሽን፣ በበረራ መስተንግዶ፣ በቲኬቲንግና ሪዘርቬሽን፣ በሆቴልና ቱሪዝም ሙያዎች አሰልጥነን ተወዳዳሪ እናደርጉታለን። ኮሌጃችን ካናዳ ከሚገኘው ኢንተርናሽናል ኤር ትራንስፖርት አሶሲዬሽን አያታና ከእንግሊዙ ICM ጋር በመተባበር ዓለም አቀፍ ዕውቅና ያለው ስልጠና እየሰጠ ይገኛል። በፍላይት ኦፕሬሽን፣ በበረራ መስተንግዶ የምንሰጣቸው ስልጠና ከኢትዮጵያ ሲቪል አቪዬሽን ባለስልጣን ሙሉ ዕውቅና አለው። አድራሻ ከጎላጉል ታወር 22 አደባባይ ወደ ሾላ በሚወስደው መንገድ ላይ የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ ህልሞን እውን ያደርጋል።